if you happen to find yourself within the jungles of India, this is an expert's guide to exploring that region of the empire. Firstly, you must remember that you are not in England anymore. You are in a hostile environment. You will likely encounter many different types of species of animal within the jungle. These animals are not the type of friendly, cuddly ones that you will find in Britannia. These are the type that you will find within the jungles. These are hostile enemies. They are out to attack you. Secondly, you need the correct transportation for the terrain that you find yourself on. Horseback will be very good in most of the empire, but here in the jungles of India, horseback will not be any good. Whereas most of the time these will be nimble, fast-moving creatures, here in the jungle they'll be useless. Therefore, we recommend that you use the Indian elephant. These are only available in this part of the empire. If you are transporting yourself through the jungles, the elephant is a very good way of moving about. It is big, it is large, it can plough its way through the different terrains that you will find within the jungle. And many of these angry creatures will not approach you if you are using an elephant to get about. Thirdly, it's always good to be carrying a weapon when you are exploring this part of the empire. The animals in this terrain are very hostile, so if you carry a British Empire manufactured rifle, you will be prepared to take matters into your own hands, to defend your life, to defend your empire, to defend your king or queen, depending on when you are watching this video. You may need to fight for your life, and this rifle will be your best chance at fighting off with these animals. And finally, you need to remember that if you are in fear, if you fear the jungle, then you will not survive the jungle. So, a potential tip to survive in the jungle would be to take your mother. Now, your mother could be very useful at calming you down. So if required, do take your mother, gentlemen. And that is a very brief guide to survival in these very hostile terrains. Now remember, gentlemen, you are representing the British Empire. You are representing your monarch. You are the very best of society. If you make it home, you will be treated as legends. You will be heroes. You will be knighted. So remember, be British, boys. Be very British. This has been a moving picture production created by the British Empire in association with the continuing story of Bungalow Bill, whatever that even means. As with many songs on the White Album, the origins of this song lies in the Beatles' trip to Rishikesh in India, where they had gone to learn meditation with Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. Also staying at the ashram with the Beatles was American socialite Nancy Cook Dehera. At one point during the stay, Nancy's son, Richard A. Cook III, better known as Rick, came to visit his mother at the ashram. The third, that's such an American thing, isn't it? The third. Imagine me calling my child, my future child, Oliver Saunders the second, and then my grandson being Oliver Saunders the third. It just screams a bit ego, doesn't it? Anyway, according to Nancy, while they were staying there, her and her son had friendly relations with all of the Beatles, with the exception of John Lennon, who did not like either of them. According to Nancy, she said that John Lennon, he was a genius, but he didn't like wealthy Americans and their clean-cut, college-attending children. I wonder why. I mean, it's the equivalent in this country, I suppose, of a bunch of posh Tories who went to Eton. You know what I mean? One day, Rick, Nancy and a few others decided that they would venture outside the ashram for a day out. So they rode some elephants out into the jungle with the intention of hunting a tiger. A wild tiger in the jungles of Rishikesh. What could possibly go wrong with that? Lo and behold, it did go wrong. A tiger surprise attacked them. It went for the elephants. The elephants were under attack, so Rick, in his infinite wisdom, shot the tiger. I mean, what would win in a fight, an elephant or a tiger? I don't know, actually. Elephant's big, but tiger's quite ferocious. I don't know. Someone might know in the comments. What would win, an elephant or a tiger? Could an elephant not just stamp on the tiger? I don't know. Rick was very proud of his quick actions, so he decided while he was there that he would pose for a photo with his mother Nancy with his kill. Now the photo you're seeing on the screen at the minute is the actual photo that they posed for. That is the actual tiger, that is the actual place in Rishikesh where it happened. Nancy has since claimed that this was a necessary action. If Rick hadn't done what he did, they'd have died, basically. The tiger would have killed them. But when they got back to the ashram and they informed the rest of the group that hadn't gone out, so that was the Beatles and all their friends, what had happened, they weren't best pleased. They didn't really see it that way, that they had to kill the tiger. At the end of the day, they had gone out there with the intention of killing a tiger. Anyway, John Lennon in particular was absolutely disgusted by this. He was very sarcastic and very scornful towards Rick and what he'd done. And it inspired John, this story, to write the song, the continuing story of Bungalow Bill. In later years, John Lennon went on to effectively call Rick hypocritical for going out there to hunt a tiger and then after killing a tiger, coming back to the ashram to try and commune with God. It is a bit hypocritical really, isn't it? Defeats the whole purpose of going there. Whilst writing the song, John Lennon took inspiration for the name of the character in the song from two places. The first was the cartoon character Jungle Jim, and the second was the American showman known as Buffalo Bill. Actress Maya Farrow, who was also staying at the ashram with the Beatles, has in later years supported Lennon's account of what happened. She has equally been quite critical of both Nancy and Rick. She went on to say that Nancy effectively came to Rishikesh, to the ashram. She must have arrived later than the rest of them. She came in with like a mountain of luggage, which kind of defeats the whole purpose of what they were there for. She went straight into a brand newly built bungalow next to where the Maharishi himself was staying. And yeah, basically she seemed to think that Nancy thought that she was better than everyone else. And then a son came along who Maya Farrow also didn't take a liking to. So yeah, she claims that's where the whole bungalow bit of the song came from, because they were staying in the best bungalow in the entire ashram. Once back from India, the Beatles regrouped at George's house in Isha in the last week of May in 1968, where they recorded 27 demos, the vast amount of which ended up on the White Album. One of the demos recorded that day was the continuing story of Bungalow Bill. The demo itself doesn't sound too different from the finished thing. All the lyrics are there, the melody is more or less there. John kind of knows what he wants with this song, and for the demo he also double tracks his vocals. Which, yeah, why would you do that on a demo? I don't know, but you know, the Beatles, they're geniuses really. John Lennon, you know, great guy. I mean, this song is genius really. The fact that when you listen to the words and the story, it's a brilliant story. Anyway, if you want to listen to the demo, you can. It is on the 50th anniversary edition of the White Album. So the Beatles didn't actually start working properly on Bungalow Bill until October 8th, 1968 at Abbey Road. It would be one of the very last songs they actually recorded for the White Album. The band got to work on Bungalow Bill after they'd completed recording I'm So Tired, which is a song we'll get to in a future episode, in a not too distant future episode actually. It took the Beatles 3 attempts to get Bungalow Bill's basic track nailed, and once they had nailed the basic track, they got to work on the overdubs straight away. Lennon intended for the recording of Bungalow Bill to sound sloppy, and he wanted on the chorus it to sound like a sing-along, so he rounded up absolutely everybody he could find in Abbey Road that day to come and sing backing vocals on the chorus, which technically means that this is one of the very few Beatles songs out there. There's a few others, but this is one of the few, which has all 4 Beatles singing on it, just the backing vocals like, but yeah, it's quite a nice little fact. John also asked George Martin's assistant, Chris Thomas, to play the mellotron on the track. So he did. Chris played the mellotron on the verses. He set the mellotron to sound like a mandolin, and on the chorus the mellotron was set to sound like a trombone. However, the most notable feature on the track is the lead vocals that comes from Yoko Ono. Yoko would sing the lead vocal on the line, "Not When He Looks So Fierce." This would be the first and only time that a female lead vocalist, or in fact a lead vocalist other than one of the 4 Beatles, would sing a lead vocal on a Beatles track. Although I'll let you make your own mind up on what you think of the quality of Yoko's vocal performance on this song. Anyway, this does obviously go to clearly show the increasing presence that Yoko was starting to have on the Beatles sessions and the influence that she was starting to have on John Lennon. Now, the Beatles actually completed Bungalow Bill on the 8th of October, so the entire thing was recorded, overdubbed, mixed, etc. all on that same day. So yeah, not bad going. Obviously, the Blitzkrieged it. However, there was still one key part of the song missing. At this point, it didn't have that iconic Spanish guitar intro on the song. That would come at a later point. Now, we don't actually know for certain when this was recorded, but we think it was probably recorded on the Beatles' one and only 24-hour recording session, which was spread across the 16th and the 17th of October 1968, where they were finishing off the White Album. They were deciding the running order of everything. They were making the songs flow into each other. So it was obviously at that point where I think they've added the intro to Bungalow Bill. So the Spanish guitar intro is actually played by a mellotron. It was one of several 7-second guitar pieces that was programmed into the Mellotron Mark II. So the identity of the person who's actually playing the Spanish guitar that was programmed into the mellotron has never been confirmed, but it's believed to be Australian session musician Eric Cook, but we don't know that for certain. If I was Eric Cook though, I would just be pretending, come what may, that it was me. Even if I knew it wasn't me, I'd be saying, yeah, that's me playing on that. Now here's an interesting little fact for you. In the last few years, Giles Martin has been remixing a lot of the Beatles albums. Hopefully Rubber Soul's coming next. Anyway, when he came to do the White Album and he came to remix Bungalow Bill, he had a bit of a problem. The intro, the Spanish guitar intro, it wasn't up to a high enough standard to be remixed. He needed it re-recorded to a higher standard. So, luckily, the Mellotron Mark II that this was played on, the actual machine Paul McCartney now owns, it is in his studio, Hog Hill Mill, down in Sussex. So he contacted Paul, and luckily this guitar piece is still programmed into it, the original one. So Paul re-recorded the intro onto a higher quality tape and then sent it off to Giles, and well, it won't be a tape, it'll be a digital file these days, but he sent it off to Giles to be remixed. So you wouldn't know this unless someone told you, but when you listen to the 2018 remix of the White Album and the intro to Bungalow Bill, it's not technically the original one from the 60s, it's a re-recording. It's the only time since Giles has started remixing all these that he's had to re-record anything, I think. It's the only one he's publicly admitted to anyway. So, the White Album was released on the 22nd of November 1968 and Bungalow Bill was sequenced as the 6th track on the album. So, for me personally, I've always had a soft spot for Bungalow Bill. It's always been a song I've really enjoyed. I just find it good fun. But I also like the story behind it. I like the fact that this is John being annoyed with someone. He's telling the story of someone that he didn't like, whose actions he didn't agree with. Now, if you've seen these lyrics written down and you'd never heard the song, but you were told it was a Beatles song, I think you would assume this was a Paul McCartney song, because Paul tends to be the one who does story lyrics, he does story songs. But this goes to show that John himself is also capable of doing them when he wants to do them, and he does them very well. Like Nancy said, he is a genius. He's a bloody genius. I mean, it is literally this lyric on this song, the exact tale. It's not like he's made anything up. It is word for word exactly what happened. It's brilliant. Now, I know Yoko's vocals get a lot of hate on this song, and in some ways, yeah, it is understandable why it comes in for the amount of hate it does. But from a narrative perspective in the lyrics, it actually makes sense for Yoko to sing that line, at least for a woman to sing that line, because it is the mother who is actually saying that in the narrative of the song. It's Nancy who is saying that. And apparently she did actually say that when John and Paul met Nancy and Rick when they came back from hunting the tiger. Nancy said to John and Paul, who weren't happy that they killed the tiger, she effectively said, it was us or them, was basically what she said. But yeah, Yoko's vocals, I will concur with the view, they're not good, they're not great. Yeah, she couldn't hold a melody really, but you know, I don't want to come out and hate on Yoko. They could have got another female to sing it much better, but let's be honest, John, he wasn't going to get anyone else to sing it at this point, was he? It was going to be Yoko or no one. I do love the story of this song, the fact about Rick and Nancy killing the tiger and John not being happy about it, and he just turns it to such a brilliant song. Now, I know he didn't like Rick and Nancy. I think Paul, George and Ringo probably deep down didn't like them either, but just for the sake of peace, they just at least pretended to be friendly with them. I don't think the likes of Maya Farrow, Prudence Farrow, Mike Love, Donovan, all these other people who were staying at the ashram, I don't think they'll have really liked Nancy and Rick, because I don't think they'll have been their type of people. You know, these were quite posh Americans. You know, they were kind of upper class people. Then very different backgrounds to what the Beatles were used to, so yeah, I can understand why John didn't get on with them personally. So that concludes this episode of the White Album in depth. Thank you very much for watching. I do hope you've enjoyed it. If you have enjoyed it, please do click the subscribe button wherever it is, down below, to the side, up above, I don't know where it is. Anyway, if you have enjoyed this, there is a playlist on my channel which consists of all the previous episodes that I have done in this series. All future episodes will also go into that playlist. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. And I will see you next time, where it is finally time for us to have a look at a Harry song. Until then though, take care.